Hello and welcome back to Rayman Origins. Our character pick for today is the Blue Rayman. Or Ray Box or Glow Man, whatever you want to call him. Bubble Dreamer's still going at it. I don't know what's so funny about that. You know, coming from a guy like that, cravings and voodoo mama sounds like a pretty shady combination. Just leave me out of it. As you can see, we've unlocked quite a few characters already. We won't be able to use all of them in the course of this Let's Play, but they all act the same basically, so it doesn't really matter. Quite a few elect tunes until we unlock this guy, and there's even one bubble after that, so yeah, we still have a long way ahead of us. Well, better get cracking.
Fantastic feat!
As usual, starting with the tricky treasure. And by now you know the drill, but I'm still gonna emphasize that all of these tricky treasure levels have the same idea. You don't want to go too fast, and you don't want to fall behind. It kind of goes double here, because as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on. Spikes popping up as we go along. There's just tons of obstacles falling and dropping on your head. Plenty of stuff going on here, so you really don't want to fall behind. Primarily it's there just to make it feel like you're in a hurry, but if you just keep running, you're gonna be totally fine. Yes, you saw correctly, I actually hit the treasure there. But it doesn't register until you're at the end of the course. We're gonna see another example of that in a later world too. I like to do a little dash jump there towards the end because it's a lot safer, and we're at the end of the course, so you don't have to worry about going too fast or anything. Halfway there. So, it's time for those time trials. Mossing the Mountain is kind of a transitional level, much like Porto Panic in the Sea of Serendipity. It differs from the rest of the levels. It sort of paves the path for the mountainous cave areas that we're gonna see. It's a nice level, but the downside is we don't get really a lot of use for our newly found power up here. However, we can use it for the chase sequence. It's actually slower to follow the nymph here. It's faster to grab the rope on the left and ignore the bumper platform entirely. But I wanted to show off the alternate path as well, so there you have it. You can see we can almost reach her here, but she rubber bands away like something out of a racing game. If we'd taken the faster path, we could actually get on top of her sprite, but attacking her there has absolutely no effect, much like in the tricky treasure map, so you still have to run to the end of the course, unfortunately. Final stretch here, and that slowdown, it's so painful to watch. Well, that wasn't a great run, but I'll make sure to show off some different, faster strats in some later videos. I spent a lot of time dissecting Mystical Monkeys. There's a lot of tricks you can pull off. Right at the start, you can see we can skip a huge segment, which saves something like 5 seconds or so. Jumping off walls while you're running on them is a really good strategy for shaving a lot of seconds in many places in this level. Here's a pretty nifty skip as well. Oh, that's unfortunate. If you perform a cartwheel attack, Rayman will not grab any of the rope, so you can pretty much free fall through that section, but my timing was a bit off there. You can get past that rope by wall jumping, but it's not very consistent and it's easy to get killed, so I opted for a more safe route this time. See ya! Sometimes it's best to ignore enemies entirely. At first glance it may seem like a good idea to attack the enemy there, but you actually lose speed if you attack next to a slope you're gonna start running on, so it's not a good idea. It looks like I should have died there, but as we've discussed before, the hitboxes in this game are kinda weird, so if you get there in time, you can safely slide under the pendulum. Some slowdown there with the elevator towards the end, but it's not the biggest time waster in this level, and all in all I'm really happy with the end result here, with over a minute to spare from the cup. You could still shave off a lot of seconds, don't get me wrong, but for a casual run I'm pretty content with that. I'm going to make a huge mistake here right at the start by running to the right. You actually want to start by running to the left, because you can jump through the beam that we're gonna land on right here. Not to mention, you also get a heart if you do that. This screen is awful. The first jump here is difficult enough on its own, but then you have these tentacles to deal with. And they just never act the way you want them to. You saw me attack there and it just barely got me past them. But if I'd been there just a split second too late, it would have killed me, no questions asked. Well, I missed a wall jump there, but it's not too big of a deal since we got past the last screen so quickly. So I was supposed to do a dash jump here, but I ended up missing the timing, so I hovered a bit, and that means I had to get to the higher platform here in order to reach the ledge on the right. If I hadn't missed the jump, we could have used the lower platform, which would have saved us a little bit of time. You can see me losing some speed there by attacking after I got under the enemy, and that's what I was referring to earlier when I said you don't want to do that before wall running. It's probably just a third of a second or so, but still, you don't want to make mistakes like that. Okay, so I was forced to do a little hovering there, but it's not too bad. You could actually get to the top a little bit quicker by jumping off the wall with the coin on it. But it's a very precise jump, and you need to be really quick to get there in time. There is a certain rope glitch you can use to get up there a bit quicker, but I don't have footage of that right now. And that wraps things up at the Mystical Pique. Next up we have 4 new worlds to deal with. As you can see, they're all tied to the ones we already beat. And their themes remain largely unchanged, so we're gonna get a second swimming world, some ice levels, and so on and so forth. But the main difference is the difficulty. They're a lot harder than the first half of the game. But more on that next time. But before I go, there's still some trash to go through, of course. This time we're gonna take a look at 2 different levels, or rather, 2 different screens. Mystical Monkeys I spent a lot of time exploring. There are several techniques at work here. The first screen is rather self-explanatory. You just jump at the wizard, do a dash jump to the right, try and grab the ledge, and then hover to the other side after performing a wall jump. But for instance, the ropes are kind of finicky, because if they're next to a ledge, they take precedence and Rayman will grab them instead of the ledge. I also want to emphasize that first screens are my biggest enemy, because it's so easy to restart, so I strive for perfectionism. And as a result, I tend to get killed by the simplest of things, such as spikes in this case. Once you get on top of the guy, missing the dash jump is your second biggest enemy. And once you get all those done perfectly, the ropes are gonna troll you. In several different ways. And finally we have the infamous Galaxy Golem screen. Not much to say about this one, so I'll just see you guys next time.